Hi, I'm John Torres, the engagement editor at Florida Today newspaper, and welcome to Florida Pulse, a show where we take a look at and examine some of the issues and topics that are important to us living here in Florida. Now, with the Florida legislative session all set to begin later today, Tuesday, March 7th, we thought it would be a great idea to welcome back once again to our show our two experts, all things Tallahassee politics, reporters for the Tallahassee Democrat, James Call and John Kennedy. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello, John.
And I'm going to have to stop calling you guys guests because you're on so often that it's almost like the normal panel here for us. But before we get started, I want to remind our viewers, our listeners, our readers to tune into your podcast called Inside Florida Politics, which is available on all the major podcast platforms. So there you go, Inside Florida Politics. Now, let's jump straight to it. Our governor, Ron DeSantis, has released his Framework for Freedom agenda and budget with a supermajority this year. At his behest, I guess you might say. He's not expected to see much opposition with this agenda, is he?
Oh, no, not at all. What we have here is a situation where the governor is unchained. He has the backing of the Senate president and the House Speaker. He has an agenda that flames the cultural war issues for maximum publicity. And it appears that our legislature wants to give the governor what he wants.
Yeah, no, I agree with James. It's a very top-down legislature this year where the guy at the top, Governor Ron DeSantis, is really dictating what he wants to see come out of this Republican-controlled legislature, where, John, as you pointed out, indeed, supermajorities of Republicans. So Democrats aren't going to be much of a factor when it comes to any kind of hurdles. And because DeSantis has his eyes far beyond Tallahassee and the boundaries of Florida, in other words, he's going to be running for president in just a couple of months. And a lot of the initiatives that he's advancing right now are designed to sort of have an appeal to conservative voters, maybe in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, some of these early primary states in the Republican presidential field. So you're seeing a lot of really remarkable conservative, sometimes, constitutionally questionable initiatives coming out of the governor.
Well, and that's a great segue because one of these proposed bills in his agenda is about permitless carry for handguns. What does this mean? So does this mean that I can carry a handgun wherever I go? I thought we already had something like that on the books. Can you guys explain that?
I don't quite know. I don't know if it's correct to say it's on his agenda. He gives lip service that he will sign it. He will sign it if the legislature sends it to him. But he doesn't ask the legislature to send it to him. So I'm not quite sure if it's on his agenda. But there's a movement in Florida, what you refer to it as constitutional carry. It's open display of firearms. You don't need a concealed weapons permit to carry your gun in public. That is what gun right groups want. That is what the governor gives lip service to, but that is not what the Senate president or the House Speaker has okayed.
I see. So in other words, we might see people walking around with holsters with guns in them if this was to pass, or is that proposed?
Yes, that's it. Because the argument is you do not need a government permission slip to exercise your constitutional right to defend yourself.
What the governor is in the midst of right now, and I think this gets to one of the reasons, as James alluded to there a moment ago, the governor is not that active a participant in this debate in this regard. Permitless carry is something that state law enforcement agencies, whether they be the Statewide Prosecutors Association or the Florida Sheriff's Association, they are okay with what's considered permitless carry. That would mean you don't have to get a concealed weapons permit to have a gun. But they draw the line there. They don't want open carry, which means you can openly display that weapon as you walk through, a crowd, or you walk to a downtown festival. They don't want to see that in Florida. The governor has called for his support for what Second Amendment advocates call constitutional carry. And in their definition, that includes open carry. And so it's a little bit of a yin and yang here in that the governor if he signs the permitless carry without open carry legislation, if that passes, he's going to antagonize a lot of ardent Second Amendment people who want to be able to openly carry their weapon. Yet at the same time, the governor, he doesn't want to antagonize law enforcement agencies either, who don't want open carry. So it's an interesting internal Republican fight right now over this issue. Hard to tell where it's going to land. And then, of course, you have a whole another large element of Floridians who think it's just insane to allow even more people to more easily get guns. That's a whole nother story. And
Right.
their voices are being heard too.
Right. And now, so you guys have said that our Governor DeSantis, he's not openly calling for this bill, but what is your gut telling you about this? Would he be in favor of this passing?
He would be in favor of it passing. I think what's a little bit uncertain right now is, will he sign into law a permitless carry only bill that doesn't allow for open carry? If that were to pass, because he's going to be vilified by Second Amendment ideologues on that. So he's in a little bit of a bind on this thing. Like, these things happen. Now, I think that's where, getting back to what James was saying about his interaction with the legislature, I think he's kind of trying to make it where, hey, the legislature, this is as far as they go. And for now, it's a step in the right direction. He'll sign it. Maybe he finds a way to sort of split the difference.
And let us not forget that the legislature will do whatever the governor wants. They have shown that they will do whatever he wants. And if he really wanted an open carry bill, he would be, he says he will sign it. He doesn't say he wants it, but if he wanted it, Paul Renner and Kathleen Pasadoma would give it to him.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
And if his eyes are on the White House,
he's using them as the scapegoat, as the excuse for why they don't have it. Because, like, as one person that I quoted in the story about the debate in the Senate, the rest of the world knows that this is not normal behavior to be relaxing gun laws. Not when we've had mass shootings almost every week this year.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, if his eyes are really on the White House, it might be better for him, with his aspirations, if open carry was not part of this bill. Correct.
Correct, and I think Renner and Pasadena will protect him.
Gotcha. Okay. Switching gears here slightly. Well, it's more than slightly, but with like school shootings always on the mind. An expansion of the school voucher program is also one of his agenda items, I think, and it's something that has been talked about. A lot of people accuse our governor of going to war with the public schools. Is this just another part of that, or what does this mean, the expansion of the school voucher program?
Well, this is really going to kick the door open on school vouchers in Florida. We've had some form of vouchers since 1999, when Governor Jeb Bush had the nation's first statewide voucher program, then for lower income Floridians. And then it was pretty confined who was eligible. This year, they're talking about basically lifting all the earnings requirements. So far, all the voucher programs have something where you have to have a certain level of income to qualify for them. Now they want it basically where the Floridians could get their taxpayer money and use it in a private school or a public school. And that's a first time ever in Florida. So it's a potentially big dollar amount that would be shifted from public school funding to private school funding if a lot of parents take advantage of that and say, I want to send my kid to private school and I'll use state tax dollars to do it. So it could have a dramatic impact on public schools in this state. Some people are saying, I mean, it could potentially underfund some districts because the money in districts all follows the number of children, the FTEs, full-time equivalents that are in the school system. So if a lot of people take their dollars out of the public school system, that's going to be, difficult for some public schools to continue to operate or to continue to run fully. And also there's a larger socioeconomic issue too, where some people have warned that this could lead to sort of a resegregating of schools, where schools become more, all white or all black or all brown. So we'll see where this goes. But Republicans in this legislature are fully on board with this massive expansion of vouchers.
Yeah, this is a combination of a war on the public education system. And all you have to do is listen to their own words. Senator Clay Yarborough, in debate about this bill, said that in the Florida Constitution, it does not mandate that the state runs a public education system. He then switches the words that is in the Constitution to focus on option, to say that all it does is mandate that there be a public option for public schools. Now, this is a senator who has 4 children, who homeschools his children, and would receive a $33,000 check every year from the state of Florida. He says it's an attempt to strike a good balance between our constitutional mandate as lawmakers to ensure that whatever option it is that the parents wish to pursue for their children is adequate, and that the provision is made so that they can do that, but there is no mandate that there be a public option. To get to that point in your thinking, you have to ignore the next 5 sections of the Florida Constitution. But this is what the Republican legislature wants to do.
So are you saying, James, that if I was to homeschool my kids, I would be eligible for some of that voucher money myself?
Yes, you'd be eligible for $7,400 to do with it what you would like.
Wow, I'm gonna have to, man.
I mean,
I don't have kids young enough. That's too bad. Okay.
There is a grifting element to this bill that people who are well off and who have chosen to send their children to private schools want that option to be funded by Florida taxpayers, which will come at the expense of the local school system. This is at odds with Florida history. It is at odds with what Thomas Jefferson believed. This could very well be the death knell for public education system in the state of Florida. I don't think that that's an overstatement at all.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to have to keep our eye on this one. And I mean, it sounds like it'll probably happen if everybody's on board, and with the supermajority, this is it'll probably come to pass. Wow.
And so much that is going on, makes me wonder, do the people of Florida understand what this legislature is about to do? Not only with the school vouchers, but also with the growth management bills, with the free speech bills, with the other education bills. I don't understand this disconnect between our Florida legislature and the people of Florida. I just don't get it.
Well, let's stay right here then with the other education bills. And I wanted to ask, are there any more restrictions coming down the pike as far as in public schools regarding subjects like LGBTQ or critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or what else is coming?
Well, Senator Yarborough wants to expand the Don't Say Gay bill, or the parental rights and education bill, up to the 8th grade.
Wow.
I mean,
right now it's up to the 3rd grade, right? Is that
yeah? And he also wants to mandate that you can't choose your pronouns. I mean, you have to go by the pronoun that was assigned you at birth. The teachers are not allowed. If a child wants to change their pronoun, a teacher is not allowed to honor that request. And if a teacher wants to change their pronoun, the students are not allowed to honor that request. And John can probably talk a lot about the university bills.
Well, yeah, there's a whole section of another area of legislation that looks at colleges and universities, and it likewise empowers the presidents of universities to do more of the hiring of professors, and it also includes new reviews aimed at restrictions on tenure. And a lot of this is looked upon as being you have appointed people that are now going to be more dictating who is teaching at colleges and universities in this state. Currently, a lot of university hiring is done by kind of a committee of that may include professors, in their respective fields. DeSantis, the governor, wants that eradicated. He wants more the board of governors at the state level, and which is involved obviously in selecting presidents. The governor has great power over that board of governors, and then the presidents, who are in turn selected at universities, they also obviously have a little bit of a direct pipeline to the governor. So those would be the people now hiring professors. And it would also be potentially easier to get rid of professors that say something or teach something that is considered contrary to this sort of, top-down autocratic approach that we're seeing becoming more and more instilled in Florida government. So universities are another target for this legislature this year.
If these things pass, is this too much power for the governor?
He is consolidating an awful lot of power in his office, and he has used, remarkably, for a Republican governor, when you think about Republicans, small government is kind of part of their DNA, isn't it? It once was, but instead he is seeing the opportunity to really weaponize state government and use it to his advantage, and to use it to impose his view of democracy on Florida. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now. And so far, Republican legislature going along with it, Republican voters in the state also seemingly going along with it. So as James was kind of indicating or hinting at earlier, we are seeing some dramatic changes in some real traditions, some real constitutional customs, and our legacy is changing in many respects. So when it comes to really democracy, and a lot of that is in play right now in the way we have a government that looks like it really wants to impose its will on the choices of many Floridians.
What we have here is that the legislature, the Republican legislature in Florida, wants to control the blue metro areas of the state of Florida. There's a series of bills moving through, land use bills and land regulation bills that are moving that upends local comprehensive plans, that prevent local governments from addressing things like rent control and relationships between the renter and the owner. Limiting access to the courts, where if you try to sue if you try to challenge a land use regulation and you lose, you will be on the hook for the attorney fees, which will freeze out the environmental movement on land use regulations. We have attack on worker organizations going on, and we have the suppression of speech. This is not Ronald Reagan's Republican Party. It's not Barry Goldwater's Republican Party. It's not Dwight Eisenhower's Republican Party. I don't think we've ever seen a political party like we have here in Florida.
Historic times indeed. Wow, this is a session to really keep our eyes on. About the pronouns, James. I know it's not the same thing, but I'll always remember my second grade teacher, the very first day, asked all of us kids what we would like to be called for that entire school year. And because my favorite baseball player was Rusty Staub, I was Rusty, even though my hair was pretty black. I was Rusty for the whole year. So anyway, changing times. Speaking of changing times, last year we heard all about the actual feud between DeSantis and Disney. Can you update us about the Reedy Creek issue, DeSantis versus Disney? Good for the state, bad for the state. What's the bottom line here with that?
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, John.
I'll go quickly and throw it to you. But the legislature was in special session last month in February, and one of the measures they did revamp the board of Reedy Creek Improvement District, which is the sort of the self-governing status that Disney has had to oversee its own mostly infrastructure needs, on the 25,000 acres of Central Florida that it owns. So now you're going to have, you will have a 5-member DeSantis appointed board overseeing this thing that they're now going to call it no longer Reedy Creek, but it's the Central Florida Tourism Oversight Commission. Kind of a very kind of dystopian sounding name, but not that Reedy Creek was really a great one. But so what impact will it have? Kind of hard to say going forward. This board could do some foot dragging with Disney infrastructure needs, whether they need a building permit. They kind of issue their Reedy Creek Improvement District building permits when they want to do something, or if they want to, dredge a canal or pave roads. But, when you think about it, it still remains in the governor's self-interest to keep a very popular and viable Walt Disney World in Central Florida. So I don't think the motivation is there to undermine Disney. So I have a feeling now that he has, been in this arm wrestling fight with Disney and won it. I think he can declare victory over Disney, and he can do some chest thumping on that as he campaigns around the nation. And Disney is something that, kind of like one of those who knew, but Disney within a certain cadre of conservative viewers and voters in this nation has sometimes become seen as a too woke company, and one that tends to try to portray characters in kind of a inclusive way or touch on topics that are seen as controversial to arch conservative right-wing voters. So long story is, I think the governor, if Disney doesn't do a lot of things that antagonize him, will probably leave Disney alone. If Disney comes up with a new streaming product or something like that, where, a Mulan character or something like that is sexually ambiguous, and the arch conservative community of voters stands up and squawks. And I think DeSantis is one of these guys who he has his finger on the pulse of that, conservative voting class, and he will probably do something or bark back at Disney in some capacity. And now he has the 5-member board that could inflict some kind of, as one analyst described it to me, as mischief on Disney, something that could just cause them some problems. So maybe we'll see something like that. But I think mostly the Disney fight may be done.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what John says. A couple of points though, like one of the gentlemen who was appointed to the new Disney board happens to believe that tap water can cause people to turn gay. For the most part, this is just performative politics so that he can, thump his chest as he runs for president, the governor, and that's why they, had to have a special session to fix the original law, because they're not thinking through a lot of the things that they're doing. I'm convinced that a lot of this is just for the headlines. The governor floods the zone with so many controversial issues and initiatives, and the due diligence is not performed, and they have to go back and do redos. And the Reedy Creek thing is one of those.
Wow, just what I wanted, our governor to decide what the next Disney princess will be like in the next cartoon. Amazing stuff.
An ambiguous character, an ambiguous sexual character. I mean, Disney is a threat to Florida children, so we take care of that. But gun violence is not a threat, so we don't do anything about that. That's where we are.
Switching gears here one more time. The state was hit with 2 pretty bad hurricanes last year. A lot of people I'm talking to are dreading their new insurance bills or opening up envelopes from their insurance companies. Any proposed bills regarding insurance or insurance hikes, protection for homeowners, et cetera, that you've heard about?
Well, the legislature did meet in special session in December on property insurance, and they basically gave the insurance industry many more incentives in an effort to try to bring insurers back into the state. However, the Insurance Information Agency that recently published a report projecting that property insurance in this state is going to go up 40% in this coming year. So all those fixes that they did that were very kind of anti-consumer and pro-insurance industry doesn't look like they've had an immediate impact. And in this regular session that we're about to start, or starting this week, I should say, the legislature does have some more limits on what is called bad faith lawsuits. These are lawsuits that policyholders can file against their insurance companies if they feel that the insurance company is not properly, meeting a claim or paying a claim. So here's another thing, it's another limit on consumers, again, trying to sweeten the pot for the insurance industry. So they've sweetened this pot very much, but we're not seeing really a response yet when it comes to insurance rates. They're still sky high and projected to go up, even higher into that sky in the coming years. So I don't know. The legislature is not really looking at some of the root causes maybe of this, or if insurance companies are treating customers squarely. So far, the fixes are all kind of one-sided.
Great. Well, one of these days, I'm going to actually come up with a question where you guys will say, I don't know the answer to that, but you guys are amazing. You have all the answers. I really appreciate your time. So many more topics that I want to talk about, but I think we will try to have you guys on again, maybe in like a month or so, as the session is underway, wrapping up, so we can see what's happening. But thank you guys so much for your time. James Call, John Kennedy from the Tallahassee, easy for you to say, the Tallahassee Democrat. Check them out on Inside Florida Politics podcast. And again, I'm John Torres, and you have been watching the Florida Pulse. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. And again, I'm with Florida Today newspaper, floridatoday.com. Thank you.